What are the most common causes of neurogenic TOS? So, just to reiterate, we know that neurogenic TOS is not only the most common type of TOS, somewhere between 95 and 98% of all cases of TOS are the neurogenic type. But what we do know is it's also the most difficult type to diagnose. There are many underlying causes because people have different anatomy, and it's complicated by the fact that people use their neck and shoulder and arms in many different ways. So, one common group who gets neurogenic TOS are people who work at computers. If you're spending 8 hours a day or more, I'll bet you in Silicon Valley, it's a lot more, but everywhere people spend time on their computers for hours on end. And many people use laptops. Now, what you're supposed to be in for the best ergonomic positioning is you want your hands down towards your knees with your wrists slightly bent forward. You want your head and neck fairly upright, and you want the monitor about 10 to 15 degrees below your eyes at the worst. Now, on a laptop, that's impossible. Either your head's in the wrong position or your hands are in the wrong position. I use a laptop all the time too. When I go out and take my kids to do things, bring my laptop along so I can answer email and do the work that we're always doing here. And I'm sure a lot of you are the same. Also, we have other devices, phones, iPads, tablets of other sorts. So we're always using them in non-ergonomic positions, and we're doing it for long stretches of time. So I would say computer use and device use are very common causes of TOS. Secondly, athletes, as we just discussed, mostly overhead athletes. We do get a few weightlifters, but mostly it's people who are rock climbers, volleyball players, swimmers, baseball players, pitchers, and third basemen are the ones most commonly affected. Don't see too many football players or quarterbacks. We'll see how that changes as recognition of the disease changes. And then I'd say there's another group of people who do a lot of manual labor. People like always thinking about UPS drivers or Amazon delivery people. They have stuff stacked up on shelves in their truck. They have to reach into weird positions. They have to carry stuff. Usually they've got something under one arm and their back is tilted. They're carrying a bag with the other hand or a box. So people who do manual labor of that sort. Sonographers. If you've ever watched a sonographer do a study, or if you've had a sonogram, an ultrasound yourself, they have to manipulate the dials of this computer while they're bending over you and putting their arm in one place and then very slowly moving the transducer to get just the right picture. So they often hold unusual postures. So those would be the three biggest types. I think these are people. Oh, I left out one huge part, of course. Motor vehicle accidents and neck injuries. This is a very big part of the population of neurogenic TOS, what we used to call whiplash. I think whiplash now can be accepted as people who get acute neck pain, not spreading out to the shoulders or down the spine, that lasts for maybe 6 weeks after a motor vehicle accident or other similar neck injury from an impact. And I think that's pretty much accepted. Most of those people with acute whiplash will get better, but a significant amount, sometimes up to 50% in these studies, can have symptoms last longer than 6 weeks. Those are called chronic whiplash. And a lot of those people will have those symptoms I just mentioned, pain radiating down the arms, maybe one arm, maybe both. I think that huge population of chronic whiplash patients is much more likely to be thoracic outlet syndrome than to be this entity of chronic whiplash. And I will say the success rate for treating people with chronic whiplash is not as effective as we want it to be. And that could potentially be because we're not seeing it as neurogenic thoracic outlet syndrome. So people who use computers, athletes, people in motor vehicle accidents or other post-impact neck injuries, and then some oddball jobs where you have to hold unstable positions or unusual positions for long periods of time.